Okay. Right. Hello, everybody. And it's Gareth here from, as you can see by the picture, on behalf of the iMoot team, I'd really like to thank Anthony Burrow for giving a presentation on Moodle Addons. He almost needs no introduction. He's absolutely world famous. He's the contributed plugins guru, manager, orchestrator, all those wonderful headlines there. So thank you very much, Anthony, for drawing these slides and for your time today. And also, can I just say thank you to Big Blue Button for providing the software and the time and stuff and all that support. Thank you, Anthony.
My pleasure. Good to be here. So this presentation is called Adding Technological Distinctiveness to Moodle Core. And so it's a Star Trek themed presentation looking at Moodle. I like to start by introducing myself and just to let people know some of my different interests. I'm a Catholic priest and the associate pastor at a parish here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Have training as a counselor and have worked with Honduran teen gangs. I wrote a section of a book on that. And like to play racquetball and watch Star Trek. And so what I find really amazing about the Moodle community is the diversity of interests and the ways that Moodle gets used. And so plugins really are and add-ons are about how do we expand our site to be able to do more nifty things that people will find helpful and help them to save time and different activities. And I think one of the, in terms of activities, one add-on that I really like is the game add-on that lets you do things like crossword puzzles and create different types of fun activities, especially perhaps for younger students, middle school type students, to kind of engage them with the materials. But you know, I started off with Moodle almost 10 years ago now, and have greatly enjoyed getting to know the community. What first drew me to Moodle was as a teacher. I wanted to take some of the activities that I was doing in the classroom and move them online. And so that would give me more time to engage the students in the classroom. And I think one of the great benefits was, or the one that I really used the most, was the quiz module. And so I'm really grateful for Tim and the OU for all their work that they do and keeping that developing and working smoothly. And so what I would do is I would assign quizzes to students for homework. That way I didn't have to spend time in the classroom, figuring the quiz and then going home and grading it. And so, but I really found pedagogically that allowing the students to kind of review the questions and having them do 20 questions out of a 50-question quiz bank, as many times as they wanted, letting them kind of work to get the score that they wanted, the high score, really encouraged them to work on it and get to know the material. And so at the end of the year, when I did a comprehensive exam, it was questions that they had already seen for the most part, and it actually brought their scores up. So people that think that the final exam is just a way of punishing the kids, for 3 years in a row, I had the class average going up a point because of the final exam. So when you are looking for plugins and add-ons, I think it's important that they kind of look and say, what do I need? How is this going to save time? How is this going to help my students learn better? And so do that. I've been involved in reviewing Moodle plugins for a number of years now, just to make sure that there's some basic quality to them, that they're actually helpful and work when they're installed and aren't throwing a bunch of errors and things like that. I have developed plugins that I've developed, 2 of them that I've shared with the community in quotation marks because I really just kind of took the online users block and kind of modified that a bit to make that into the birthday block. And So instead of showing online users, it shows people who have a birthday today. And I think it's really neat because one of the things that I push when people add plugins, the Moodle plugins, is that they share the source control URL so that other users can go in and see the code and work with it and perhaps submit patches. A tracker URL so that they can either use the Moodle tracker or if they have another tool like GitHub's issues, that they can use those tools so that they can communicate with the developer and let them know, like, here's a feature request, here's something I think that would improve it, here's a bug or an issue that I'm having. And so I really like people to be able to work with the developers. I think it's one of the great benefits of open source is you get pretty direct access to the people who are writing the code. And so I think that's really a great benefit. And the MRBS block, that was a meeting room booking scheduler. And that was another open source project that some help from another developer. We worked together to get that into Moodle so that it was a single sign-on and worked as a block within Moodle. And so look at the needs and the things that you have. Look what's out there, and a lot of times you can encourage development on a project if you're interested in if it hasn't already been developed. So my objectives today are to help to explain the difference between a plugin versus an add-on. You'll see both of those terms around on the Moodle forums and documentation and things like that, so it's helpful to understand that. Identify the various types of Moodle plugins, and I'll mention some of the new plugin types in Moodle 2.7. Discover and assess Moodle plugins shared by others. And so for those of you who are here, Paula and Maureen and Tim, if you have an add-on that you think is really helpful or useful at your institution, feel free to share that in the chat and let folks know what those are, because I think just kind of sharing our own experiences can be helpful to each other. And so how to integrate add-ons into your Moodle installation, so basically how to install them, and how to support plugins for your site by actively participating in the Moodle community. I think that sense of everybody being involved and everybody having a voice and a role to play is important. So I certainly want to encourage that. So the M in Moodle stands for modular, and so from its inception, Moodle has been designed so that you could easily drop in or take out pieces that you don't need, or functionality that you don't need or want. And so you can disable a plugin or you can add a plugin. And so and it's meant to be independent, so that there's not a lot of dependencies between code. And one of the latest or somewhat recent developments has been the ability to declare your dependencies. And so if you have, say, an activity module that also has a block with it, it doesn't make any sense to have the block installed if you don't have the activity module installed. And so you can declare that that block cannot be installed unless the activity module is installed. And so there is an ability to kind of handle that. But for the most part, most plugins are simply, you are able to drop them in or take them out as needed. So the distinction between a plugin and an add-on is, there are different plugin types, and we'll discuss those. But a plugin is anything in Moodle that expands its functionality and increases it. And so it could be an activity module or a filter or a theme. And some of these happen to be in core. And by being in core, that means that they're maintained by Moodle HQ and Moodle headquarters. And so we use the term add-on to refer to third-party contributed plugins that you can add onto your site to expand the functionality beyond what might be typically referred to as a vanilla installation or just a plain installation of Moodle. So you may have a custom theme that you like that you can add that on there. It's not part of Moodle Core. That would be considered an add-on. Any non-core plugins. And so really, Moodle add-ons are a subset of Moodle plugins. And on the Moodle website at moodle.org/plugins, most of those are actually add-ons. So looking at some of the Moodle plugin types, and this is not meant to be an exhaustive list. There's I think about 50 different plugin types, but this just gives a quick overview. Since Moodle 2.3, there are assignment, submission, and feedback types. There are course formats, so you can change the way that the course is laid out and the material there is organized. For example, some would be the weekly format, another would be theme-based or topic-based. And so you can kind of structure that. One of the more popular theme or course formats add-ons is the grid course format. Then obviously there are themes if you want to change the way that your site looks, the colors and things like that. Things have gotten a lot more powerful in the way that they can reorganize things on the site. Activity modules, these are meant to be activities for students and teachers to get involved with and do things. Things like the forum and quiz module are in core. A popular one in add-ons is the questionnaire activity module. Blocks usually are these little sections off to the side that contain some extra information for students, and so those can be added into a course or on the front page to kind of share information. Repositories and portfolios, these are ways of getting information into or out of Moodle, and so file repositories are meant to help you go out to say something like Google Drive and be able to pull those files in. One of the nifty repositories on Moodle.org is the GitHub file repository, and what that allows folks to do who have shared an add-on or added an entry into the Moodle plugins is to kind of allow that to do the packaging for you and create the zip file. And you just tell the repository where the code is, and it'll go ahead and zip it up. And there's an option there to rename the root path and rename the README file and delete extra files that aren't necessary. And so it's kind of a really good tool for allowing developers to focus more on developing and less on packaging the zip file. So portfolio is the other side where you have things from Moodle that you want to send out to another system. And so you could use a portfolio add-on to do that. The plagiarism type is different types of plagiarism checking, so Prot and turnitin.com, things like that, where you want some work from the student to be passed through some type of system that checks it for plagiarism and gives some feedback to the teacher and the students about that. We have different question types, question formats, and question behaviors. So this just allows you to do more with the quiz activity module. And I don't know if there are any really good kind of alternatives to quiz for using questions, but I know that the hope has always been that we'll be able to have other activity modules that do things, use those questions in ways beyond what the quiz activity module is meant to do. Okay, there's Q practice. That's good to know. Thanks, Tim. Because I know that there's always been talk about wanting to do like these types of tests that kind of categorize things and like personality tests and things like that. And so it's just a matter of waiting for someone to write that activity to use it. But the infrastructure there, I think, is very flexible. So it's been very well done. Authentication types determine if you have your users in some type of system. LDAP would be an example that's in core. And so I know that there was a presentation on OAuth 2. So if people wanted to use their Google accounts to authenticate and log into a Moodle server, there are ways of doing that. Similarly with enrollment types, different ways of determining who gets enrolled in courses. And so filters I find really nifty, and I've seen some really fun uses of those. I was recently reviewing a plugin that took a certain format and converted it into a phonetic spelling of or presentation of the word. And so filters are really for any time that you want to take some input and kind of massage it and maybe make it into a URL automatically. And so things like the resource, converting a resource name into a link actually to that resource, or the glossary filter, where if a term is used in a course that has a glossary definition, the link will automatically be added. So filters can be real time savers in helping students get the information that they need. Grade reports. The grade book is big and can be complicated, and so sometimes folks have custom things that they want to be able to do, or different ways that they want to present grades to the teachers, and so there are ways of modifying that so that you can do what you want with it. Local plugins are kind of a storage place for anything that doesn't fit neatly in these other areas. They tend to focus on the whole system. And so Tim has the code checker. It is a local plugin, and what it does is you put in the path, and it will go in and check the code to see how closely it aligns with Moodle coding standards, and make suggestions for folks to kind of clean that up. And so I've been trying to run the code checker on new plugins that I've been reviewing, just to give folks an initial indication of how closely the code presented really follows the Moodle coding guidelines. And so message output are different ways of taking events that generate a message and determining whether you want that emailed to you or like instant messaging. So if you have some type of system for receiving messages, having a plugin that will get the information out to that service. Reports are about getting information out of Moodle, and so you can design different types of reports. There's the custom SQL report that I think is really nifty, that allows people to really quickly and easily gather together information that might not be readily available somewhere else and run those. Administrative tools, these are usually things for the site admin to kind of go in and clean things up, and or do some type of task on the server as a whole. And then user profile fields. These are different types of fields that there's dates and numbers and things like that you might want to set up, and but maybe you have a custom type of field that you want, and you can create that field type. In 2.7, there is the shift to the ATO, APTO text editor, and so you can create add-ons for that that expand the functionality of that editor. Also in 2.7 are availability restrictions, where you can set up conditions by which a thing would be available to someone. And then the change in logging is a major change in Moodle 2.7. So you can manage the log stores there and create different log store types. So those are three new additional plugin types that are now available in Moodle. And so it's great to want to expand your site, be able to do more things, and I love playing with the new functionality that I see, and being able to see the creative ways that members of the Moodle community are using Moodle to use new technologies and new tools. And so as fun and exciting as that can be, I think there's also a caveat that's important for folks to keep in mind. And the first is that the code is not maintained by Moodle HQ. A lot of times it's maintained by someone who's voluntarily written it because they needed it at their institution and have decided to graciously share that with the community. And so, they don't get paid to, keep it up to date or things like that, and we don't know about their level of experience in coding. So, there may be some security issues with it. When I review a plugin, it's a very quick review of the code just to make sure that everything looks Moodle-ish, and that I don't see anything that's grossly exploitable. But it's not a careful and deliberate security review. The Moodle partners, many of them will offer that as a service. And so, if somebody's interested in using an add-on on their server that has not been reviewed, and especially for security vulnerabilities, they contact a Moodle partner and ask them to do that for a fee. So, but there may be security issues. There may be stability or reliability issues. And things like usability and accessibility may not be as up to the standards that we try to keep Moodle Core at. And so, and another thing to consider is upgrading. When you go to upgrade your site, there's no guarantee that the person will have maintained or will maintain the upgrades. And so, for example, if there was a 2.6 plugin and they're logging a lot of their activity, and there have been changes to the logging system in Moodle 2.7, it may still work, but there's going to be a time when add to log function gets deprecated and no longer works in Moodle when it gets taken out. And so, you just want to keep in mind that it may not be as smooth of an upgrade process. Obviously, it's important to back up your data before you install any plugin or add-on. I really encourage folks to have a test server that they work with, that they can, with some production data, even better. But on the test server to install the add-on and really play around and see if you can break it and how it works, and cause problems for you on your production site. And I think again, it's just good to be patient with some of the plugin maintainers. They likely have full-time jobs that keep them busy doing other things, and so if you do have an issue, try to be patient with them. So where do you find all of these add-ons? In Moodle.org/plugins, if you go to that site or that page, you'll notice a list of categories, and the categories are the different plugin types that we've discussed. And you can go in and search for them. If you've heard of a plugin that you think is nifty or useful for your site, then you can type in the name of it and search all of the plugins. Or you can review the download stats at download.moodle.org/stats.php. That's what's popular. And so one of the things that I say is, add-ons, perhaps are a bit like apps on your phone. If there's not a use for it, well, you probably shouldn't install it. But if there does seem to be a functional necessity for it, utility, I think that's the first criteria. So on your test server, you can kind of play with things and see if they work and if you like them. But before installing them on production, one of the questions that I would be asking is, well, how is this actually going to help our users? So has it been downloaded and tested for my version of Moodle? I would generally discourage loading an add-on, say that was written for 2.4 on a 2.6 site if it hasn't been marked in the plugins database as being functional for 2.6. Another thing to look at is who is the author. Are they someone like Tim who's known and trusted, and you recognize their name, clicking on their user profile field? How long have they been in community? I think is sometimes a good indication if they've been around a while. They're probably more knowledgeable about Moodle and able to share things that are good. So we're trying to encourage people to do reviews of plugins, and those reviews are on particular versions of the plugin. And so every time that somebody updates their plugin to a new version, review would probably have to be redone again. Currently, that's even for very minor changes, but we want to make sure that what's being reviewed is based on a very particular version of the code. And so we've asked trusted members of the community to write reviews for a version and to just give us some insight into their experience of it, describe what it does, and does it install well, and documentation, things like that. And then also to kind of help really good plugins stand out, if you look at, I think there's a Black Hat Award or a Moodle Hat Award or something like that. We haven't really used a lot of awards, but and I'd be interested in hearing back from the community of what criteria do you look for or would be helpful for you to know about an add-on before you install it on your server. And so we hope to give awards to plugins that stand out and have more reviews. If you're interested in becoming a reviewer, please feel free to send me an email at anthony@moodle.org, and I'd be happy to discuss that with you. Other things that you can do to kind of assess whether a plugin is good for you and your site is to look at the comments. And I think it's nice to point out that ideally the comments are user experiences about the plugin. That it's helpful, it's good, really just comments, not necessarily bug reports. So there's perhaps a fine line there, but I think things that are bug reports and feature requests really would be better done in the tracker. And when, as I mentioned, when people submit a plugin, I try to make sure that they provide a source control tracker and documentation URLs so that if there is an issue, uh, you know, you can, under the useful links section, you can create a bug in the bug tracker. So other things that I strongly encourage are screenshots so that you don't actually have to install it on your site. Documentation is also good to have. So people can click on the documentation and read it, and it seems to make sense to them. They can get a good idea of what the plugin will do without actually installing it on their site. Discussion, they're encouraged to create a forum area where people can discuss the plugin as well. And so if they have these links, go ahead and review those and get a sense of what people are saying about the plugin. The bug tracker, you could look there and see, do they have a lot of open issues? How long has it been since they've addressed an issue, or how long does it usually take for them to do that? Does it seem to be actively being maintained? And of course, if you are a developer or familiar with looking at code, you can go in and review the code itself and suggest improvements. So that's always a good thing. I find most of the folks in the Moodle community are very happy to and very responsive to feedback about how to improve their code. So after you found the plugin that you have, since Moodle 2.5, it's become a lot easier to install an add-on. Prior to 2.5, you had to download the zip file and have write access to your server. With Moodle 2.5 onward, if the Apache process has the ability to create code and files there on the server, then you'll be able to install a plugin directly from the Moodle interface. And so you log in as an admin and browse to Moodle plugins. Say that you want to install Addons from the Moodle plugins directory. And when you click on that, then it'll take you to the Moodle plugins page where you can begin to search for the plugin that you like. Once you find it, you'll see that there is an install button if it's available for the version of Moodle that you're running. Just a quick little note, the first time that you won't have an install button when you're browsing on Moodle.org unless you've gone and hit that button to browse the Moodle plugins directory. And that's because on Moodle.org, it registers the site and the version that you have on the site for that particular user. So that's how it knows to display the install button. And so it'll check and see what versions of Moodle are this for. In this example, it was 2.5. So the site that I was running at the time was 2.5, and so click on the install button. If there's not an install button and a download button, you can still download the zip file and then copy that to your web server and copy it into your Moodle installation. But for now, we're going to continue just with presuming that you click on that install button. Once you do that, it'll inform you, it'll take you back to your site, your Moodle installation, and let you know that there's a request to install a particular plugin. And so you can continue to proceed. And then it'll download the zip file, and it'll check and make sure that that zip file actually appears to be a valid Moodle plugin. It does a few checks on it to make sure. And so if you see any red kind of messages here, or everything's not okay, or there's a warning, you might want to look at that carefully. After it checks the zip file, it'll start to begin the installation process and let you know that you have a add-on that is getting ready to be installed onto your site. You want to upgrade the Moodle database now, so you click on upgrade Moodle database, and it'll go through, and it'll run the upgrade or install scripts to create any tables or thing that's needed for that particular add-on. Then it'll ask you if there are any settings particular to that add-on. It'll give you a chance to set those. One of the things that I try to ensure when I review a plugin is if folks are using settings that the data for that plugin is stored in config plugins table and not config, so as to avoid bloat of the global CFG variable. So you make any changes that you need and save changes, and it'll let you know that it has been installed properly. If you need to install from a zip file, you can still do that, but you'll need to specify the plugin type and acknowledge that you understand the potential risks of adding a plugin to your site. So you can kind of drop the zip file in there as well, and it'll go through that same basic process. You can delete plugins after you've installed them and say, well, it's really not what I'm looking for, or it's caused issues on my site. And in most cases now, I've not done a thorough check to make sure it's all cases, but in most cases now the code will be removed from the server, as well as any data associated with that plugin. And so you just say that you want to uninstall it, and it'll remind you that it'll be removing that plugin folder when you hit continue. Initially, themes were being removed, code is being removed from the server, but other things like activity modules were not. But now it's much better at making sure that you remove it if the code is removed. Otherwise, if the code remained on the server, the next time that you went to the notifications page, it would try to reinstall it again. So you don't want to do that. As I mentioned, I like to really encourage folks to be active participants in the Moodle community, and that includes complaining when you have issues and letting the developer know that you're having an issue by reporting a bug, or if you have a feature request. Like with the birthday block, one of the feature requests that I got that I really liked was, it's great to show the birthdays for today, but at my institution we'd like to see like the upcoming birthdays for the next week, and so I was able to add that functionality in there. That was not something that I had thought of, but it seemed like a good idea, so I did that. Some folks are really good at writing documentation, and so if an add-on is not documented well, or you have suggestions for that, contact the maintainer and let them know that you're interested in helping with documentation. Discussing issues and experiences and maybe best practices on the Moodle forums. As a community, the more that we share our experiences, the better. The more knowledge that's in Moodle.org and on the forums, and so the easier it is for folks to use those plugins. And then translators, if you're familiar with a language that perhaps isn't all that common, or even one that is common, and you notice that there are things that have not been translated, get involved with the AMOS service that we use to provide those translations. Essentially what happens is when a plugin is added to the Moodle.org plugins directory, all of the strings for that plugin are added to the AMIS service, and then folks can go in and select the language that they speak and provide a translation for those. So those of you who are polyglots out there and multilingual, that can be a real benefit in helping the code be used in other places. And so I like to say that inexperience is irrelevant. Allow your own experiences to become part of the Moodle community. And so the Moodle plugins ecosystem continues to evolve. The goal is constantly to make it easier for people to share code and things that they've written with others to ensure that the quality of that code is good and not going to cause problems for people. And so we're always open to input into how that ecosystem can be continued to be improved. And we are here. I am here to serve the community. I sort of see one of my roles as trying to help people find their niche. And so even if folks aren't, if you're not a developer and you're interested in getting involved in helping to do something with the plugin and maybe reviews or documentation or things like that, or you're not sure, how you can contribute, feel free to send me an email. And so at this point, I'd like to open it up for any questions that people have. I mentioned here that this is a little old, but we have moved. The Moodle community has Moodle core has moved its development to Git, and so I try to encourage folks that are writing Moodle add-ons to use the tools that the Moodle HQ developers are using for Moodle core. And so the Moodle Tracker, Moodle Docs, Git. However, we also try to keep it flexible enough so that if you're using something like Mercurial or Monkey or some other place to host your code, if that's okay, you can still share. If you're not using any type of file repository, that's okay too. But I do try to encourage people to use the tools that Moodle HQ are using, because I think it then allows you then to be more involved with kind of submitting bugs and voting on issues in the tracker and things like that. And so many ways to get involved. And so I'm happy to help folks do that. At this point, are there any questions, comments? Tim, anything that you would like to share? Please feel free to jump in, and we'll try to monitor the chat here and view what's happened there. Yes, definitely feel free to use the mic. Go ahead, Car.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Doing great, thank you.
I jumped in kind of late, and I threw my laptop on. I just came home from a dance competition quickly, so I threw my computer on, so I didn't catch most of this. But I just want to ask you what your feeling is, and I apologize if you went over this, so forgive me. But with the add-ins and the plugins and stuff like that, sometimes I'm nervous. I know I got burned really bad a few years ago. With the dialogue lock, we put it in every single course because it was a great feature for our kids. And when we upgraded and had an error, I had to manually touch 200 plus courses. and I had all my teachers using this piece. And it scares me. Sometimes I'm scared to use some of these add-ons because you have to pray and hope. And I know I've said it already. I've used Rocket Theme on a lot of my sites, and I always felt like we were safe because Moodle Man and Julian would be around. But once Julian decided to leave and he's now no longer Moodle Man, it's like I'm panicking that all these sites are going to go down. So I know that these are advantages and disadvantages, but I'm scared to get people on some of them. Does that sound crazy?
No, I think one of your jobs as a site admin is to be a little bit paranoid, to be the one who's scared first, and to look out for these things and kind of ask those questions. Is it worth it for us to take this risk? Um, you know, I think I would also say we've tried to make it easier so that if somebody moves on, to a different job, and so that was actually one of the ways that I initially got involved with maintaining a plugin. It's the Gradebook Plus plugin, or it's actually a patch, and which we strongly discourage now. And so, but I said, it'd be nice if you kind of kept it up to date, and can I help you with that? And the person said yes, and then they left, and then the next thing I heard was that I was the maintainer of it. And so we're trying to make it so that it's easier for people that have moved on to identify a plugin as needing a maintainer. And so, that's one of the things. And the other piece is, with open source, when people are freely sharing things, they're free to move on. And so if it really does offer value to your institution, part of it, I think, is training, kind of the heads of those institutions to realize that there's an investment there to be made. And so, if you really need that Rocket theme for, 2.7 and, it's kind of broken, there is the option of kind of stepping in and saying, well, we're going to take that over as a maintainer. We're going to pay someone to work on this and get it up to date for us, and then share that back with the community. So, but no, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that you have some hesitation and look carefully at that. Stuart, I didn't quite understand your question. Maybe if you said it out loud, I might better understand it. Oh, okay. um, so, Gary, did that help? Did that answer your question? Great. Stuart, because I'm thinking that to make sure that I'm on the right page that you're talking about. Are you talking about, is this the plugin page in Moodle installation? The direct link to the plugin. Not sure what the plugin forum is.
I'll take a guess at what the question is.
Okay,
So
thanks.
in the add-ons directory, there's the link to the where to report bugs, where to get the code, which forum to discuss this in. I think what Stuart is suggesting that when you install the add-on, that information is then available in the Moodle site where the add-on is installed, not just on Moodle.org. I guessed it right.
Okay.
and I'm kind of not sure I see the point, because we can kind of assume that Moodle.org plugins database is always going to be there. Maybe we just need in the Moodle admin interface a link to the plugins directory entry for any add-on.
Okay. I'm trying to, let's see, I just want to make sure I understand exactly which page that we're on. And you're looking for that link. I know there's the page that shows like the list of add-ons, and so maybe something that linked directly back to the Moodle.org. That work?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where we'd put it, but I guess the plugins overview page would be, maybe on the plugins overview page, it does say either standard or add-on. You could make the word add-on a link to the plugins directory. That might work.
Yep. Okay. Well, that sounds
Hi,
like
guys.
a great feature request. Hi.
Yeah, I think, guys, I seem to remember that on the plugins, they also list them by type. So maybe something there as well. It links to their specific forum, because course formats go to one forum, other plugins go to another forum.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea too. I'm gonna make some notes there of that, so I can follow up on that. Excellent. Any other ideas? Questions, comments?
Actually, Anthony, I had a question for you. I'm not sure if it's fair to ask you in public, which is, Martin's recently announced that Dave Mudrak is going to be working as a sort of plugins manager full time.
Correct.
Do you have feelings about that?
I'm happy about it. I'm happy to see, so the reality for me is, as a priest, I have a full-time plus job already, and I try to do as much Moodle plugins review. The reality is if I can get an hour in a day, to focus on that, it's great. But I've just not been able to keep up with the generosity of the people who have been contributing. And so April was working with me and helping along, but kind of his attention was divided as well between integrations, and so I'm excited that there's someone that's going to be full-time focused on that, because on the plugin review is one piece of it, but then there's the whole back-end infrastructure of maintaining it and developing features and continuing to enhance it and moving it forward. And so I know that Martin's been very much wanting to make add-ons and plugins, much more dynamic and really kind of give that a boost in the arm. And so I'm happy to have David be able to work on that and focus exclusively on that. Because it's really hard.
Good. I just really wanted to be sure you were happy. I mean, I
yeah.
agree with what you're saying. It's great to have someone working on it full time, and I assume you're going to still be around, still helping.
Yes, anything I can do to be helpful. I mean, quite honestly, it oftentimes pains me that when I have a bunch of things coming up, or a retreat that I'm giving or something, and I'm away for a week or something, I feel bad that things just kind of linger, and then there becomes this humongous backlog, and so in one sense it's created a bit of stress for me, and so I'm really hopeful that having David there will help relieve some of that and allow the whole plugins ecosystem to be more responsive and lively. So I think it'll be a good thing. Yes. Thanks, Stuart. Time off. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds good.
To take this moment, please, to thank you very much, Anthony, for your time, your slides, and to thank everybody for attending, and also the continued questions. So once again, on behalf of the iMoot team, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. I'll stick around here for any more questions. And again, feel free if something comes to you later, to just send me an email to anthony@moodle.org. Happy to be of help and to have you all with me today. Yes, I do hope to get some more moots. I'll be moving in September to Portland, Oregon, and hopefully I'll have more time there because I won't have a full-time job. I'll be kind of studying, learning more about restudying, I guess, the constitutions of the Jesuits, and doing a 30-day retreat. But after that, hopefully I'll have, I've been told that I'll have some time in the afternoons available, and so I'm looking forward to that. It's a little bit of, it'll feel like to me at least a little bit of downtime. So looking forward to kind of catching up on Moodle plugins. My goal is always to respond to a plugin that's been submitted within 48 hours. That's a very ambitious goal that I've not been able to achieve in quite some time. But I still hold it as my goal. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the iMoot, and I do hope to meet some of you again and see some of you again in person, either at Moots or other places. So, cheers.